Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time we are in episode number 21, building off of something we saw about a month or so ago when I had a chance to record episode number 20. Now, back in episode number 20, we looked at the Complete Saga and other editions of the films on Blu-ray. This time, we kind of harken back to something we also saw back in episode 6 of this series, From Star Wars to Jedi, The Making of a Saga. That is, we're going to take a look at one of the more well-known behind-the-scenes Star Wars videos that are out there before we finally move on into starting to look at things like the spin-offs, Ewoks, Droids, the Ewok telemovies, Clone Wars microseries, Clone Wars cartoon show, and so on in many upcoming episodes. What we're dealing with this time is a film entitled The Making of Star Wars, also known as The Making of Star Wars as told by C-3PO and R2-D2. Now, this is one that I personally haven't collected all that much. It was just something I happened to have run across at one point in time. The version that I have is from 1995, so I want to sort of work our way to that point. First of all, what this is it is a behind-the-scenes feature about the Star Wars films, or I should say about the Star Wars film from 1977. That's right. When this was made, A New Hope was not the subtitle slapped on to the first Star Wars film to be released in theaters. It was simply still known as A New Hope. This came out on television in September of 1977. Now, what that means, of course, is that it is very compressed in terms of what it can actually talk about. It can only talk about the original Star Wars film, but it also is a contemporary piece, so you're going to see interviews in it from that time period with the creative team, the actors, and so forth. You'll also find that because it doesn't have to share time in its 45 to 50-minute span with any other films, it can focus in on things like behind-the-scenes footage and whatnot that might otherwise be dropped from the space of time in other later behind-the-scenes features. Now, this originally aired on ABC television. So it was aired on network TV in the United States. Anybody, with a television could pick it up. And it was originally narrated by William Conrad, the guy that was Marshal Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke. And this was a feature that basically acted as if it was being hosted by characters from the films. C-3PO and R2-D2 acted as hosts, very much like in that Star Wars Connections thing that we saw, that little special thing we saw on the VHS copies of Attack of the Clones a while back. Now, this original version of this special, with William Conrad narrating, was put out on home video in 1979 through Magnetic Video, and then re-released again in 1980 to hype up The Empire Strikes Back, with a little trailer for Empire Strikes Back on it. 20th Century Fox then got the rights to it, or I guess maybe they acquired Magnetic Video here. And in 1982, they put out their own version of it as a double feature. You had The Making of Star Wars and SPFX The Empire Strikes Back, which was later collected on the Blu-ray set just like this was. That edition was released on VHS and Betamax and Laserdisc at the time, along with that long-forgotten CED format that we took a look at here on the show a little while ago. I believe it was in episode number 5 or so of this series. Now, this is something, though, that for the most part started to sort of fade away. After that point, it really only got one more release. It was released in 1983 as a triple feature with that same SPFX The Empire Strikes Back special and Classic Creatures Return of the Jedi, also which appears on that Blu-ray set. But otherwise, it just sort of faded after that point. By the mid-1980s, this was a forgotten special. Until 1995. Now, you may remember that 1995 was when all those tweaks to the sound and picture of the Star Wars films for that 1993 Definitive Collection Laserdisc set finally led to the THX remastered release of the Star Wars films on VHS, what was known at the time as the original One Last Time, right? Because it was 2 years before the special editions would come out. At that point, they did a special re-release of this through, of all people, the Kellogg Company. That's right, it was a serial mail away. You pick up the cereal, you find the information about how to send off for it, you mail away for it, it finally shows up a couple weeks later in your mailbox. That's the one that I wound up picking up. It looks like so. Okay, kind of neat. We've got this Vader face on it, but it's Vader that kind of moves down into a draft-looking thing. It says Star Wars, The Making of Star Wars, right? Star Wars behind it, The Making of Star Wars as the title for this. Same kind of thing there on the side. On the back, very similar to what we see with the Star Wars films in that THX remastered set, The Making of Star Wars. It's the only adventure greater than Star Wars, the incredible behind-the-scenes story of how this epic movie was brought to the screen. Hosted by C-3PO and R2-D2, this fascinating look back recounts the adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia. Go on location in Africa, which doubled as the planet Tatooine. Enter the enormous sound stages in England to witness the building of the film's extravagant movie sets. Watch the filming of key scenes, and see the technical wizardry behind Star Wars' amazing special effects. Sit in on interviews with George Lucas as he explains his inspiration for Star Wars, and hear Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher reminisce about the making of this extraordinary motion picture. Bum, ba, 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 and you can see on the back, it says there, if you can see, it says free, not for resale. This was a mail-away only edition. Now, the cool thing about this, I think, is the way they've made the cover match up with the films of the time, right? You have A New Hope, and you have this right beside it. You can see the Vader faces essentially have crossed over between these two, and this is just a draft version of that. I thought that was kind of one of the neater things about it. What's weird about it, though, is that they didn't use the same narrator. They went back in and redubbed the narrator's voice. Rather than William Conrad, this version of the film, or this version of the behind-the-scenes special, was narrated by Don LaFontaine, who you may know as the trailer voice. When we think movie trailers, right, the in a world kind of thing, that's Don LaFontaine. So they replace the iconic screen and voice actor William Conrad with the guy who's sort of the iconic trailer voice these days. Kind of an odd decision. But maybe you're wondering here, wait a second, I've got this. Except when I got this special, the first time I ever saw it was on Star Wars The Complete Saga, the Blu-ray set from 2011. Which one do I have? The original William Conrad version, the one that was released on VHS and CED and Laserdisc and Betamax and all that stuff back in the day? Or is the one that I've got, the newer version, the one with Don LaFontaine doing the voice, that was released as that Kellogg giveaway? Now you would think that since this is the newer one, 1995, and the other ones were from back in 1977, that they would go with the newer version. That's what Star Wars tends to do. But not this time. The only way you can get the Don LaFontaine voiceover of this is to find yourself the VHS copy from 1995 when they did the Kellogg's giveaway. This one has the original with the William Conrad voiceover with it. For what it's worth, this also has the SPFX, The Empire Strikes Back, and Classic Creatures Return of the Jedi stuff that I mentioned that appeared on that triple feature back in 1983, which may explain why those three are on here together. So, one of these kind of oddball things, I like the fact that it's a behind-the-scenes thing that doesn't look at it from the perspective of the trilogy or all 6 films, but instead looks at it from the perspective of just the one film. That by itself is kind of cool, but if you've already got it on this set, that other narrator really doesn't give you much of a reason to pick this up. I mean, that's kind of a nifty little thing to have, but honestly, this is not something I was actually going around searching for, and I doubt many collectors will be searching for it otherwise. So, decent enough, not something to hunt down, but hey, break out your Blu-ray set. It's on disc 9, that bonus disc that only appears in this set. It's definitely worth watching if you're interested in behind-the-scenes stuff for the original Star Wars film from 1977. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.